It is another week of the Talking Tillies podcast, and we are back to full strength. Our injury sub has returned from her long-awaited absence. Michelle, welcome back. We've missed you. How are you?
Thanks for having me back, guys. It's good to be back.
We've kept your seat warm. It's okay. Cody hasn't. He's missed you. Talking to me is like talking to a brick wall sometimes, and we got through it. But
hey, don't date yourself. You're a fun chat. I wouldn't
chat.
go that far. It is good to have you back, Michelle, but
I've been good. I held the tide. Huge week, both on and off the pitch. I don't know if we touched on it last week, Cody, and I can't remember if it was before or after we recorded the podcast, but new pay structure agreement for the Tillies in place with leveling things with the men in terms of payouts, which is awesome. Kat Gorry, question mark on where she's going to end up. Same thing with Charli Grant as well. Matilda McNamara still scoring goals. It's been a pretty solid week around the world. Let's start at home, as we always do. If you haven't caught up, this is an Australian women's podcast, and we will touch on all things Matildas at home and abroad. So, Perth keep winning at this point is a pretty good way to put it. They are off to a flyer, sitting on top, clear by 2 points. Someone that we had sitting at the mid-table. I know Michelle sent me a message midweek saying, bro, our predictions. I feel like we were very wrong, and that's okay. But Adelaide had a strongish start and then actually, no, they didn't. They had the 4-4 draw and then fell off the table completely. But Perth keep flying, and their team looks strong throughout, which I'm super excited about. But yeah, 2-1 win over Adelaide. How do we go?
Well, they had a strong start in this game, at least, Adelaide. I actually thought they were going to... I was watching it thinking, oh my God, Adelaide might actually take something out of this. And I won't say, boy, was I wrong, because it was still close, but, you know, they gave Perth a good test, but Perth, they look actually kind of good. I don't know what you guys think, but you can't argue that they're not looking good, considering they're coming first. They've got a perfect record, but I'm quite shocked, but quite impressed too.
I think my worry is injury. If something happens to Fong Song Cam or Charli, like what next from there? That's my worry with Perth.
I mean, it's a standard worry, but you could say that about 4 or 5 other sides in the competition as well. Wellington are high up on the ladder. God knows what happens if 1 or 2 of their players gets injured too. So, look, Fong Song Cam, that's a valid concern. I'm pretty sure there's been times that she's been out with injury too. So, you know what? Fair enough. But on her, she's playing fantastic. And it's times like this where it is kind of hard when the Matildas are such a high quality, because it is tough for players that are performing okay in the league to sit there and go, okay, yeah, do we like maybe peter on talking about them being in the Matilda squad? But unfortunately, our Matildas is just at that higher level that unfortunately you need to be a lot better than just a decent player in the A-League to get a look in. You look at it, let's just say if this was a men's competition, Fong Song Cam would probably be playing next week against Bangladesh. But still definitely one to keep an eye on if she's able to keep that form up at least relatively well over the next few weeks and basically the rest of the season. You could see her get back into Europe, and that's probably where she performs there. You never know. Maybe we are looking at a future Matilda.
Yeah, 100%. Any opinions on Perth here, Michelle? I know you've been away and you haven't been able to watch much, but
yeah, I mean, it's good to see Perth winning, I guess. I think they'll definitely be fighting out for that top 6 spot as the season continues. But yeah, they're off to a good start, which is really positive for them. I always think about the first kind of 6-ish rounds as sort of the teething issues and teams just figuring things out. The season's just started. I think it's really hard to say how a team is going to go this early in the season. I think there's obviously some key sort of moments that you can tell and you're like, okay, this team's probably going to do well. And like you said, barring any injuries, they could probably do quite well as the season goes on. But with Adelaide, I think it's very concerning. They had one great season in their for their standards, and then to make the finals, and then just haven't been able to replicate or reproduce that sort of quality. And I think it's only made things worse that Fiona Wirtz has left and is scoring goal after goal after goal at Sydney FC, and it's just feels like a bit of a kick in the gut to Adelaide as they let her go. They've lost the last 3 games, and she is, like I said, off to a flying start. So I do worry that Adelaide's probably going to be sitting towards the bottom of the table this season.
And Fiona Wirtz, while that was mentioned, that was one of the names that popped up in our kind of pre-season kind of review, and we put a question mark around it whether she was going to be able to come in to Sydney and find that form again, knocking in those goals, and that's exactly what she's done. So don't know if it was a system change or like surroundings change, but God damn, it made a difference, didn't it?
A lot of quality behind her. I think that's probably a big thing.
100%.
Look at her first season at Adelaide, having Emily Condon and Dylan Holmes feeding her, to now. Obviously, Condon's probably been a big loss for Adelaide as well, someone who's probably petering on that Matilda's conversation at her best, but now she's got, look at the midfield she's got behind her, as much as it's very young players. You're talking like Taylor Ray, Indiana Dos Santos, Princess Sabini, Courtney Vine out wide. Like, that's a quality side to have. You should be scoring goals when you've got that around you.
100%. Let's go to that team that keeps making us talk about them because they keep on winning. Wellington 3-1 over Western United. Michelle sits back in her chair being like, not happening. But again, they keep doing it. 6 weeks, you reckon, Michelle? So let's give them another 2 rounds and see how things keep going. But Western United, kind of question mark around this team here. Lagazo gets her first goal as kind of almost like a consolation in injury time. Not really kicking off the way I bet they thought they would to start the season after last year. So hopefully any of those teething issues can be figured out on their end. 4 points from 4 games. Yeah.
Yeah, look, first of all, it's great to see Lagazo. They're not just scoring goals, but back playing like 90-minute games as well. So considering what she's been going through the last probably year or so, absolutely fantastic to see. Hopefully those injuries are a little bit behind her now, because Lagazo at her best is a joy to watch for all of us, really. And on Western United as a whole, it's a weird one. I had a feeling, I think I said this to you guys as well, I wouldn't have been surprised if they start to get figured out a little bit and start to drop off in that sense. I think they've got the quality. They should be rising up the ladder not very soon, but soon enough. I don't think they'll be finishing anywhere lower than 9th or anything like that. Whether they make finals or not probably depends how the next few weeks go. It'll be a key for you next few weeks. You don't want to be leaving it too late before you start really going on a run. And it's probably the advantage of having an extended season and extended final series as well, where, maybe in years gone by, they're probably already out of the race for anything in terms of making finals. If they're pushing for top 4 and they've only got maybe 10 games left to do it, they're probably out of the question already in reality. So it's in a better situation where you can actually take your time and play out a whole season and not have to rush for those results at the start. But yeah, look, I'd want to see them start getting points on the board sooner rather than later. They'll probably be saying the same thing. But it's something that I think a lot of people would have seen. Well, not a lot of people, but people probably could have seen coming in terms of slowly starting to get figured out. I'm not surprised they're having a bumpy start, in all honesty.
And we said that when we looked at their roster as well and said, hey, not much movement, not much change. They play the same
It'll be interesting to see what happens when Bill comes back into the lineup. So
yeah,
that's someone there to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say when Hillary Bill comes back in, I think a lot of their conceding issues might change. They might not, concede 3 goals anymore, but it could, if you don't have players scoring goals, like, you can't be relying on the goalkeeper to save you. Chloe Lagazo, while, I love Chloe, everyone knows I love Chloe, she isn't normally a goal scorer. She's not a striker. And
it's a hell of a strike, though. It was a brilliant goal.
Look, when she scores bangers. But she's not a striker, right? So it's a little concerning if you don't have your players scoring goals who are supposed to score goals. And a goalkeeper isn't going to score you goals. A goalkeeper's not going to win you a game. So
I mean, they can.
yeah, but Hillary Beale is not going to go on a goalkeeper run like
She's
in
not going to
FIFA.
she's not going to put a team ahead, but
No.
in the other sense, she can.
Yeah, but again, like if they're still conceding goals, they're still conceding goals. But someone else was saying, Taryn, shout out to Taryn, she was saying that if Hillary Beale comes in, the 3-1 changes to a 1-1 draw, you know, because that Macy Fraser goal was unreal. So
that was a solid strike.
It's a great free kick. We love a good free kick goal.
Good stuff. And that's the thing. It's pipping points here and there because the way that kind of bottom of the table is shaping up so far, it is just going to be a point that's going to separate, I reckon, 5 through 8 at this point. So it could be very interesting to see that mid-table clash. If people keep dropping points or just pick up 1 or 2 here or there, it could change things a fair bit. Central Coast pick up a point, speaking of, against Brisbane, which potentially led to Brisbane's coach being sacked during the week and replaced. A whole heap of things to that, but that's a different story. Central Coast kind of finding their feet, sitting in 6th at the moment. I think probably not overachieving, not underachieving, just kind of achieving potential for a club that had been together for not too long prior to the season started. So looking good.
Yeah, achieving's probably the best word. I don't think they've been extraordinary. I don't think anyone is expecting them to be extraordinary, but they're doing quite well. I don't look at any of their games and think, oh, they probably should have gotten a much better result out of this. They've only played 3 games, to be fair, and that loss against Newcastle.
I mean, that could have definitely been a draw.
Well, look, the thing is, like, you look at it in terms of results. Yeah, it could have been a draw. They probably could have won, but they played well, so you can kind of forgive it. It's not like they were completely outplayed by, well, let's be real, Newcastle. No, it's actually Newcastle have actually been a bit up and down this season. I've seen more than what I was expecting. I'll say that much. But no, there's definitely a lot to like about the Mariners. I think it's what I've loved about it as well is how much the community's gotten behind them as well. They look like they're getting very decent numbers into their games as well. And look, Michelle, you can vouch for this. Industry Group Stadium is a fantastic place, not just to watch football, but just to be at in reality as well.
Better than Gossy away.
Better than where away?
Gosford away. Give it to me all the day.
Gosford away is great. It is a great time. But no, it's fantastic. Emily Husband's got her side playing good football. They're picking up points, and you're talking about a Brisbane side that started off the season quite well too. They're still sitting in 4th. So yeah, 100%. There's a lot to be happy about for Mariners at the moment. Rolla Badawia getting on the score sheet as well. It'll be interesting to see how that helps her kick on a little bit. Maybe, I can't even say a slow start. It's only 3 games into the season. She's got her first goal. But now that she's on the board, it'll be interesting to see how she progresses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
big happy to see Rolla Badawia on the score sheet. No, she's a great player, and it was a good goal. I do find it funny that it was like a minute later that they conceded. Bit unfortunate. It was like 1 crazy minute in the game, and then that's all I know about it.
That's pretty much it.
But yeah, I agree, Cody. I think it's really good to see that the community's, really getting around, and they get to play in the men's stadium, which is great. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Yellow Army comes around to support them. I'm not here to bag out active groups, but we know they only show up for the finals anyway. So hopefully they make the finals, and then we can get some more atmosphere into the games.
Yeah, 100%. Central Coast also had a chance to win that. They had a saved pen as well at 31. So there was about a 5-minute gap there with all the action. And good save in goal to stop that. Let's go to an absolute domination. We spoke about Cass Davis last week with a killer of a goal. Her 132 consecutive game streak has come to an end with a foot infection, which is probably the saddest way for that to come to an end. And with her out, Melbourne dominate. I think for the first time this season, we've seen them actually come out and swing, which is good. 4-0 for Melbourne. Good little kind of run of things around. for that team. Everyone got a pretty solid run. Emily Glennick off injured 60 minutes in though. So ups and downs, I say, for victory, but finally look like they've got their legs pumping, which is good.
Yeah, no, and look, on Newcastle, no Cass Davis, no party, I guess. Guess we can speak that into existence a little bit. It's sad. Like, she's an icon of the league, and it's a great record. I don't want to sit there and go, oh my God, it's so sad that it's broken now. It's not going on anymore, because she probably doesn't feel too good. Like, oh shit, I missed the game. And for the game to go like that, she's probably sitting, there's every chance she could be sitting there going, what if I push through? What if this? What if that? Yeah. There's things you can't help. At the end of the day, like I said before, it's a longer season. It's nothing really to worry about. Newcastle, if you ask me how this game would go at the start of the season, that's probably how I'd expect it to go. And it's more saying a lot about Melbourne Victory than it is about Newcastle. I've banged on about this Victory side. I had a feeling they were going to be really good. Rachel Lowe as well, kind of running the show a little bit. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure how you feel, Michelle, about her leaving Sydney FC, but she seems like she's at a club where it's not just her being a good player, but she's almost like the focal point of this side now. So, good on her. Absolutely fantastic. You got a back line there that's performing absolutely brilliantly too. Jamila Rankin, Jess Nash, Lydia Williams, all either fringe or current Matildas. There's not much more you can ask for out of this side, really. It'll be scary to see how they go forward. And I believe they're playing Perth next week, so that's a nice, tasty little clash.
100%. Looking forward to that one. Melbourne City Goalfest down in Melbourne this week. Western Sydney finally finding some stride. I unfortunately can't pull a point out of it. Purely through a McNamara masterclass, I think we can say. Holly McNamara looking absolutely deadly. I think she had a goal last week and then 3 this week. City look like they've found their legs. Bit sad for Western Sydney, considering the run they've had coming into this game. They kind of looked like they had a chance to at least scrape a point, but left it too late to make a comeback. Considering the bumpy start that City had to start the year, good to kind of see them come out swinging again.
I think, you're seeing Melbourne City at their best, to be fair. And I don't know if I'd say bumpy. I think they've gotten the results they needed to. They still got, 10 points out of 12. They have been playing well. I don't think there's much you can knock about them, to be fair. But this game, I think that's probably the best football we've seen them play. Maybe not defensively, but definitely going forward. McNamara is a special player, especially on her day. I really hope she's back in the Matilda squad sooner rather than later, because she's genuinely a joy to watch, and probably, like, between her and Fowler, like, that's our front line going forward for the next 10, 15 years or so. Like, that's absolutely nuts. They're both crazy footballers, and the fact that McNamara's, hopefully she stays injury free now. I will admit I had a mini heart attack when she went down grabbing her ankle after the 3rd goal, but absolute baller, absolute joy to watch. Wanderers, I don't know if I'm going to get my head bitten off by saying this, but they are quietly impressing me. I think there's factors in that side that they're not a hopeless team. I don't think they're definitely better than what they have been the last few years.
Yeah.
And a game like that 2 years ago, even last season, they probably lose that by 4 or 5. And they don't get back into it all. The fact that there's a bit of character there to at least make a play for it, try and fight your way back into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot there that you can be maybe not proud of as a Wanderers fan, but possibly happy with. Maybe tactically, there's probably still some shortcomings in player quality, maybe a little bit of shortcomings as well. But I think if you're talking about the vibe and character of the side, at least outside looking in, does look a little bit better.
Yeah, 100%. But you can also expect that from a Wanderers side that got rid of their coach like a week before the season.
There's always going to be teething issues. And I still don't know if that was the best decision for him. Look, maybe Hooker coming in, maybe it wasn't a bad decision. Maybe he's a lot better than what we gave him credit for. I still don't think that if it's a decision you're going to make, do it in May or do it in June or July, not a week before the season starts.
100%. That's the A-League this week. Sydney FC, unfortunately.
Just one thing on the A-League. I know we're not meant to be looking ahead yet, but Michelle, I know you're probably aware of this. Josh, I want to see if you are. Do you know Wanderers play Canberra next week?
Yes.
Do you know where they're playing?
Nowhere close. I know that. It's somewhere random, I believe.
Bro, they are not playing. They don't have a ground. they were supposed to play in Bathurst.
No,
But
wasn't there was something released. Hold up.
Yeah, they were supposed to play in Bathurst. And then they said that due to unforeseen weather circumstances, the pitch is not up to date or whatever. It's
Up
not
to
looking
scratch.
good. Yeah, it's not looking good. And then
So they said it'd come back to Sydney,
yeah,
but they never
they'll
said
play.
where it was going to be.
No, and they can't play it at their training ground because the New South Wales African Cup is on, and they've booked it out completely already. And I think they just decided to give up, even though there's plenty of availabilities in the Western Sydney area.
That's what I mean. CommBank apparently isn't being used until December. I'm sure Panthers Stadium, if you want to go out that far, is sitting idle.
only thing-
Marconi's still...
The thing I'll say about using CommBank is that it's not as easy as just booking it because
There's so
these
much money
these
that
games
goes
come
into
at a high cost, and to open it up for
And to do on short notice as well, probably
to
tough.
do it on short notice, and for a league that in the men already don't get enough attendance, and then for a women's that doesn't get
It's not worth
any
You'd be looking at watching the WSL games where they've got half the stadium open to make it look full.
Yeah, but it's literally going to be like a quarter of the set. You could fit all those people in like one bay. And
Put it this way,
it's like the Melbourne City women's games. Like you look at them and they're like they play at any park sometimes, and it's just like, God, this is terrible.
you can't even buy tickets to the game on the A-League website at the moment. The time and date is to be confirmed, and it's currently listed at Carrington Park. So watch this space.
Well,
I still reckon take it to Marconi.
the Western Sydney women's team, and I think the men's team as well, it looked like, were all on a boat this afternoon. So I assume they're not playing this week.
Hey, team bonding. Why not?
Holiday time.
Hey, if I could do that on a Saturday night and play on a Sunday, I'm sure they can do it from a Tuesday and play on the weekend.
Yeah,
There
you're
should
also
not
not
be
a
an issue
professional
there.
player.
That's why you're on a podcast, Cody. There we go.
You know what? You're not wrong.
But yeah, so that's fun for them.
How good. We love a little bit of drama midweek, don't we, guys? Let's talk about your Sky Blues, Michelle. A win out of, I think, 3 games in Asia, unfortunately crashing out of the Asian AFC Club Championship. Don't know what else I can say, but they gave it a crack. Came up against, got a win, got some good goals, but came up against a pretty strong opposition to crash out against, which, hey, you'll take your wins, take your losses.
I mean, they're playing against like a team full of South Korean national team players.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the easiest game when most of the Sydney FC team is, just able to legally drink. One of them did their HSE exam at the airport. So, I think it wasn't too unexpected.
100%. All right, let's pack our bags. Time to go overseas. I know you've just come back from a trip, Michelle, but we're
Not
going
again.
back to where you came from. KCC, starting 2 games in a row for Arsenal. That's probably the highlight of England this week. Gets in for Conti Cup and then holds the spot down for a 6-2 demolishing of Leicester. Didn't look good at halftime, 2-0. I woke up to see the halftime post 2-0, and then Cody was like, goal. I was like, what, 2-1? Flicked it on, it was 3-2, and I was like, oh, Jesus crap, what happened? But yeah, Arsenal kind of flicked a gear at the end of that one, which makes me super excited to watch them in 2 weeks. But yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't watch the first half, so I only got to see Arsenal kind of steamroll. So I don't know what was going wrong because they definitely looked a class above that Leicester side. We want to talk about KCC and the fact that she's coming in for holding a spot for that game.
Yeah,
I don't know how she loses it after that performance. It was a great game she played.
I think that's probably why she held it down because she had a good run in the Conti Cup too.
Yeah, usually that rotation usually happens. I'm surprised they gave her another chance. Maybe it was the Leicester game. They thought, you know what, why not? Let's just see how she goes. But now it's like, oh fuck, how do you drop her? Like, you're talking about a very, very, you're talking about a quality performance in someone that can be a great player on a day. And she showed her class there. It's fantastic to see. I don't know where else you can go with it. Like, she kind of left me speechless. You're talking, there wasn't much that she did wrong. The only thing that I could probably diminish, if I really want to be picky, maybe she's just a little bit short physically still. I think there's a couple of times she got pushed off the ball, but even then, you're talking minor details. Because her on the ball, she looks just as good as anyone there.
100%. But Arsenal going forward looks scary. 6 different goal scorers, pull over with a goal and 2 assists.
Ford's goal was quite special too.
Yeah, Caitlin Ford's strike was gorgeous. There were a couple of goals that were kind of like gimmies, but I think all in all, Arsenal, shaking off the cobwebs after a bumpy start to the season.
It's a shame the first goal kind of came from an Aussie mistake.
Yeah.
Was that Courtney Nevin?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah. So yeah, that wraps up 6-2. I think Courtney played 90 minutes. Kyra played 90 plus. Got taken off.
Simpson was back in the squad. I don't know if she got on the field, but I don't remember.
She did not play, but she's
on the bench.
Yes, I was told actually
every week.
When I was over there. When I was over there, she was like, "Yeah, my first game back's gonna be the Arsenal game." So
there we go.
I mean, the way it was going, they probably just went, "No, fuck it, damn, there's no
don't risk it.
No point putting on a striker today."
100%. Had no Aussies playing in Bristol Villa, which was a bottom of the table clash this week. Interesting result. Brighton 1-0 over City.
Let's go.
Yeah. This stunned me when I woke up to this. But Charlie Rule playing 76. I don't think
Hawksby did not
play 76, or she came on in the 76?
Oh, she might have came on in 76.
Yeah. Mm.
Sorry. Cobwebs myself. No, she came on in the 76th. So Hawksby was pretty much one of the only outfield players that didn't get subbed on. But yeah, interesting result. Actually looking at City's squad, maybe not. They weren't playing full strength by the look of that at all. So to and fro, but with Champions League coming up this week, exciting week ahead for football this week with Champions League kicking back into gear. Chelsea continue scoring. Sam Kerr back on the score sheet this week. Chelsea go up 3-0 over an Everton team that's kind of, there's like 4 teams sitting at the bottom. It's very like a split table this year. It could be a very interesting run at either end. How do we go? Who got on? Did Claire Wheeler get a start again? My system won't work. We love that. Can't see her being subbed on or off, so maybe got 90 minutes. I'll come back to that one when it loads. Tegan Micah still not starting for Liverpool, Cody. I know you're disappointed about that.
She's actually injured.
There we go. That would be why.
Tegan Micah.
Yeah, I saw that. Apparently in national duty she pulled her calf, I think it was.
I believe so, yes. It wasn't announced.
Interesting to see if she's actually out for the next games.
Yeah, well, it wasn't announced, but it was written, I think, on the Liverpool website. They made like an injury report, and so Tegan Micah is injured. And for the Matildas games, she could be back. Or they'll send someone else.
Does Cody's cheer squad get a win? Claire Wheeler did play 90 for Everton. And
talking about matches, I'm sure Michelle wants to see Wyman in the Matilda squad just as much as I do.
Of course.
100%.
Can I just say, with the Chelsea game, it's obviously good to see Sam back scoring. But maybe a hot take, she's not going to win Golden Boot this year. Not with the way that she's been unable to score in.
Yeah.
So the game that I went to, Chelsea Brighton, a couple of weeks ago, she had a few opportunities to score, but basically just wasn't there. Like, just couldn't score. I was a bit disappointed by her performance in that game, just because you know, like, you want to see Sam Kerr score a goal, and I don't believe that she did, and I was just like, it's not looking good for Sam's goal scoring record. But you know, she's coming back off the back of an injury, and you know, kind of getting back in the swing of things. But yeah, I don't think she's going to be getting that golden boot this season.
Yeah.
Well, she did not last season either, to be fair. So I don't think it's like that much of a hot take. Like, it's a possibility, but her being injured as well is probably going to play a part in it. It'll be interesting to see if she like goes on this massive run towards the end of the season, and then we come back in May and it's like, Michelle, maybe she took that personally.
Yeah, she's a big fan. She listens to the podcast every week.
Confirmed. The last Aussie to play this week in the WSL, Mackenzie Arnold. Bro, this, I don't know if it's what's going on with West Ham, but it's just not pretty. 5-0, some pretty decent goals. Millie Turner's was absolutely brilliant. I loved her strike. But yeah, I'm worried to watch Arsenal come against this West Ham. Kind of glad I'm going to be there in person to watch it, but not excited to sit behind Macca as that potentially comes down on it, because I don't know if it's the midfield or the defensive line, but someone's failing somewhere and it's just leading to an absolute barrage on the net. I'd actually love to see her, like, how many saves she's made this season against how many attempts. But yeah, West Ham I had a little hope for, and it's slowly being dashed into oblivion.
Well, here's it for you, Josh. Saves per 90, she's made 4. 24 saves in total this season. So she's equal 5th in terms of saves per 90. So she's up there, thereabouts. Brighton's keeper's probably the one that's overperforming massively in that regard. Even Everton's keeper's doing quite well. Those teams that obviously are towards or considered the lower sides in the Premier in the WSL obviously are going to be a little bit higher. So in that regard, probably not that bad.
Interesting.
I don't know how she's 2.2 goals conceded per 90. They're still a fair bit above her, including Bristol's goalkeeper, who, poor thing, she has to play for Bristol. It's probably bad enough. But yeah, so look, there's half decent stats there. If you want to look at it from a numbers perspective, you look at that game in itself. I don't know if that was her best performance. Like, usually she's someone that's pretty good, like got pretty good coverage of her box. Probably not as good as what you'd expect of her in that game, but it also doesn't happen when you're playing with arguably one of the worst defenses in the competition against a Man United side that clearly wasn't in the mood to score goals that day.
They've turned it on the last couple of weeks. I'm excited for this weekend. Manchester Derby. Let's go. Oof.
After the result Man City had, never know.
Hey, keep an eye. I'm sitting Stretford End, right behind the goals. I'll be there. Let's go. I'm excited. The Demolsvenskan wrapped up this week. I still don't think I'm saying it right.
You're getting closer. You're getting closer each week.
Closer than we first started. Hammarby took out the run to the title over Harken. Interesting thing out of Sweden. Now, this is where we're going to go down a little rabbit hole. You heard me and Cody talk and speculate about where Sam Kerr might end up next year. Rumours are Charli Grant. There were rumours in the last transfer window she was going to Villa. So very good chance that that's going to probably come true with her not re-signing for Vizio. Kat Gorry also saying goodbye to the club, which is something that we kind of spoke about at the start of the year and said, nah, she's settling. Now it's kind of like, where's she ending up? Let's have a little bit of a speculation situation. Do we see her going England, staying in mainland Europe, or coming home? I can't see her going to the States. I feel like that'd be probably too much for Harbour. So I would probably say Europe or home. What do you guys think on Kat Gorry and Charli Grant as well?
Wait, where did you guys say that Sam Kerr was going?
So we said staying in England and going to I think I said Arsenal was probably the only club she could probably end up at. Like, which
Arsenal would be the only club that could afford it or have the reputation to pull someone like that. But even then, that would just be a stupid
Arsenal or
move.
City would be the only two that could afford her.
Yeah. So then it was.
If she was to go anywhere, you'd probably say PSG or Barcelona. But anyway,
she wouldn't go PSG.
Basically how the same conversation went.
I think we ended up settling on Barcelona would be a good shot because we can't see her going to the States.
No way she would go to Barcelona. Absolutely not. They wouldn't want her.
Why not?
Okay.
Oh,
Cody, because she tweeted out when Barcelona lost in the Champions League, she said, "This is supposed to be competitive?" ? Something like that, like a shady tweet to Barcelona.
Okay.
After they lost 5-0 to Lyon in the Champions League final. Then
that's why we need you, Michelle. Don't leave us again.
Then Chelsea played Barcelona in the Champions League final and got palmed 5-0. And then
Barcelona just retweeted.
The Barcelona fans, they went haywire with that tweet. They went to town. So there is no chance that Sam will go to Barcelona. Real Madrid, I could see happening a lot more.
What? I was going to say, now Real Madrid seems like a great shot.
The thing is, okay,
anyway,
I know that you guys spoke. And hold on, I know you guys spoke about this last week, but I wasn't here.
Right. I did bookmark it. I said, no, we're going to have this conversation next week with Michelle. So everyone listening is aware.
So the thing with Sam is that I think there's only very few leagues that she would want to play in, right? And Sam needs to be in a competitive league. If she goes to France, Spain, Germany, she's not going to be playing in a competitive league, right? Realistically, they're all top twos, not top fours, not top sixes, right? I don't like the NWSL that much, but it's a competitive league. There's competition there. And obviously she would know. She's played in that league before. I really don't see her leaving. I think they would have to, just give her whatever she wants and re-sign her. Purely from my perspective, I think it's a bad idea if she goes to Spain. If she goes to Spain, she's going to have to play in a team and carry them. If she goes to a team that's not Real Madrid or Barca. If she goes to France, she has to go to a team. If she goes to Lyon or PSG, again, they're just going to win every single game, 17-0. And there's no competition in that. There's no joy in that. How do you enjoy winning when all you do is win and no one gives you a challenge, right? And maybe that's the problem that she's having in the WSL now is that, while it's a lot more competitive than some of the other leagues in Europe, it's still not the most competitive. You know what I mean? So, don't know about where she would go. I think Chelsea's a really good fit for her. I hate Chelsea, but I think it's a great fit for Sam. I think, she just works really well in that system. But, obviously, as people have mentioned with Emma Hayes leaving, maybe Sam's going to pack up and move. And I don't know if you saw Chelsea's, appreciation thread saying thanks to her for the last 4 years. So I don't know if that's a sign of her leaving or a sign of them, choosing to re-sign her. So, yeah.
Interesting. See, this is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, Michelle, because you've got insight that we don't have. Let's come back to Kat Gorry. What's your opinion on Kat and where she's going to end up, Michelle?
Personally, I have no idea. A lot of people are saying that because Charlie's being linked with the WSL, that Minnie's going to follow her and go to WSL as well. And I think with the baby and the fiance, I feel like she probably would stay in Europe. But I also have a feeling, which would mean that she could come home for a couple of months and then, go back in the January transfer, obviously. But the A-League has the transfer window open till, I think, Boxing Day. So maybe she says, okay, I'll come home, come play in Brisbane until, the end of the season and then find a new chapter. So maybe it'll be a thing of her coming back to the league just for a bit so she can kind of find her next steps, while also being home for Christmas, New Year's, and spending time with the family. So, yeah, I think we're all pretty certain that Charlie's going to Villa. If that doesn't happen, it would be hilarious. And
I mean, it was almost like
everyone
a
would be
done
wrong.
deal last transfer window. Like, from what I was reading, it was like pretty much words as written. Like, we've got a verbal done. We're just waiting for Sweden.
So it'll probably be that Sweden was probably like, so her club was probably offering, like, it was probably like the same situation with Kyra where they were saying, yeah, you can have her, but you got to pay this amount of money. And they were like, we will wait till January when she's free.
Wait 3 months, thanks.
Yeah. So that could be what's happening. But yeah, with Gorry, honestly, I have no clue. I don't think she would fit in the WSL. I think she's too speedy for it.
I mean, God knows Villa need help.
Yeah.
And, like, her feed and rage daily would be kind of fun to watch. But yeah, very interesting. Cody, anything to add on those two transfer potentials?
Look, Grant to Villa, that should basically be kind of written in the stars. I'm definitely on that boat. I think that's it makes sense. It's already kind of been everywhere in the papers and the news outlets. If it doesn't happen, like Michelle said, I'd be very, very surprised. But Gorry, it's interesting because no one, I don't think, has any idea where she is going to end up. And that's what kind of makes it
almost
exciting,
a little bit of shock with the announcement, like, that she wasn't re-signed.
Yeah, 100%. Because she looked so settled in Sweden. I thought she'd probably try and see her career out there. We'd see her there until she was like 35 or something, set up a life, then maybe move back to Australia where there's actually not freezing cold weather when she retires. Maybe it's a move that she wants to make now, just to kind of get her fiance used to Australia, see where they might retire. If she does move back to the A-League, I'd be surprised if it's not because she's going to see out the season. I think if there is that opportunity to play in Europe, whether it be England, Spain, wherever it is, I wouldn't be coming back to Australia just for 2 or 3 months, have a rest, have a break, have an off-season, actually try and rest and recuperate a little bit, and then before you get back into your football. I think Spain, like you're talking about Sam Kerr maybe not fitting in Spain, I wouldn't be surprised if Gorry fits in, probably a little bit more technically adept, can probably suit that style a little bit better. And probably someone that could play in one of those sides that is kind of steamrolling teams each week. I don't think she'd have as much of an issue with it. Yeah, wouldn't mind a bit of sun. Yeah, it's better than Sweden. Well, to be fair, there's no sun in England either. I'm sure you've learnt that the hard way in your own travels.
I'll tell you what,
yeah,
though,
no, I think there
was a lot of sun in London. It was very sunny.
I'm going straight into rain. I'm so disappointed.
It's actually exciting because it's like there's so many opportunities and none make more sense than the other. I don't think there's a real clear-cut answer to where she's going to go. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see this play out.
January is going to be very fun to watch. Real Madrid steamrolled Real Sociedad on the weekend. Hayley Razzo scoring, and it looked pretty pretty. That's English. But Michelle, you were just disappointed because you couldn't get in the stadium.
Bro, I spent all day trying to get a ticket. There was like one seat left in like the lower tier that I want, like in the middle that I wanted to sit at, and they wouldn't accept Australian cards on the website. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not driving 20 minutes out to go to the stadium in the hopes that I can buy a ticket there and get a good seat. So I was like, I'm not going.
And then Hayley's like, oh, Michelle's not here. Goal.
Seriously.
Elsewhere around the world, I would be surprised if PSG, Paris, and Lyon didn't win. That's exactly how it went. PSG 5-2 over Dijon. Saint Etienne lost 6-1 to Paris. And 5-0 to Lyon over Montpellier. Let's talk this new pay agreement that is in place that has come in, I think, midweek last week, which is probably the biggest bit of news for women's football in Australia. We saw, I think, the US got it last year or the year before. How do you see this, Michelle? I think this is huge for the game, huge to see kind of that trust when the Matildas is the highest grossing kind of football team that we have nationally at the moment. Kind of hard not to go, yeah, cool. Here you go. But yeah, good to see everyone coming to the table and going, here's what you deserve.
Yeah, it's great, obviously. For them getting, yeah, like you said, what they deserve. I think it's also really important to note that so the original one they had before, they made them they kind of gave them contracts as players, and I think it was good at the time. It gave them some stability, it gave them, the money and all that sort of stuff, which was great. But then, it kind of meant that like certain players had to get picked, people who were on contracts had to get picked and whatnot. And so now we're at a point where it's like we can really sort of base, the national team around players who perform well. And that is how you build the national team, and that's how you build a successful national team at that. So, no, it's great. The players, probably should have had this years ago. But with the success of the World Cup, I think it's, probably done at a good time as well. So, I mean, I haven't read too much into it, to be honest, because it all came out while I was on holidays. So, yeah, but from what I've gathered, good news all around.
Cody, has your journalistic brain pieced this apart yet, or are you just happy it's here?
If you're talking about really looking into it in depth, probably not. Key components of it are obviously fantastic, and the match look, I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of the contracts. Probably a bit more of a traditionalist in the sense that you play a game for your national team, you get paid as you represent them. There was obviously a need for it in the last 10, 15 years. Maybe when I first started getting into women's football, I'll be honest, I didn't really understand that there was a need for it. Learning a little bit about it over the last 12 months or so definitely came around with it in the end, but I think the fact that they're reverting to a more traditional kind of match payment system, it does represent the growth of the women's football as well, and kind of the direction it's heading in, where now players aren't relying on the national team to kind of pay your wages, if you know what I mean, where there is that trust to the fact that outside of the national team they are going to be in an environment where they can either play professionally or maybe not in the A-League yet, but at least come sort of close to it, and hopefully the A-League can move in that direction where it can be a professional league in the next few years. But like I said, it kind of shows the direction that women's football is going in, where suddenly contracts from the FA aren't exactly what's going to sustain you or what you need. And like Rochelle said, it opens up that now we can actually select players based on how they're playing, form, who's actually a good fit for the squad, rather than who's on a certain contract or who needs to play over who. That part for me, that's the reason why I wasn't a fan of the contract system in the first place. A national team should be picked, or maybe not necessarily window by window basis, but at least very, very close to it. Yeah. At least this way, hopefully, it means we'll constantly have our best squad together. It might mean some of the stalwarts that people are used to seeing don't have a guaranteed spot at the side anymore. Obviously, we saw Simon get dropped from the last squad, but now she's going to have to play her way back into it. She can't just expect a free ride of sorts, kind of like how some people assumed how she got into the World Cup squad. It'd mean some players that were petering on the World Cup squad and playing a lot of games beforehand, that maybe some people questioned a lot, won't have a very easy time trying to get back into it either. So definitely exciting aspects about it. It does help the Matildas do more ways than just simply get increasing how much they'll get paid. So 100%, big fan of it.
I think that's an exciting thing, and we saw how good the changes to the squad kind of made the squad look in the last two games, even though there was only two changes. Those players that came in made an impact and kind of freshened things up a little bit to watch, which was really exciting too. So, did you watch any of the three games while you were away, Michelle?
Matilda's games?
Yeah.
I watched some. They were on at really like annoying times when I was like out and doing stuff and being like a tourist. Yeah. So they were either like on while I was asleep or like during the day. Yeah. So not really. I think there was one game that there was one game where I watched some of it but like, yeah, like doesn't really mean too much when the Matildas are already winning that game. I think it was the Philippines game. I think I saw the end of that one.
Yeah.
Or the Chinese Taipei game. I think that's the one I saw. What is it? Taiwan. Yeah.
The one where Cody and I were like at halftime going, oof.
Potentially. I can't remember. There was definitely a game that I watched. Oh, no, not that one. That was the last one. I don't think I watched that one. But anyways, it doesn't matter. I watched the end of that game.
Hopefully it wasn't the monstrosity that was the Iran game.
No, I don't think I watched that one. I think I watched some of that.
You're lucky. You didn't miss much.
But I heard a lot about it.
But all in all, really good to see people getting paid for what they deserve. That is the moral of the story this week. Be kind to others. You're welcome.
What?
I don't know, man.
Where did that come from?
I was just being nice. I was in a little mood and I thought we all just needed to look after each other.
Oh, God.
So, we've got games ahead, which I am super excited about. I'm trying to get everything to work so I know exactly what's coming up. Saturday, we've got Central Coast playing Wellington at home, which will be, that could actually be a fun one to get to. If you have time and you're in the northern or Sydney/Newcastle Hunter region, I would definitely be trying to get a ticket to that because that could be an absolute baller of a game. Another one at Macedonia Park in Perth. This one, after how Melbourne played last week, Cody, I'm now on your train for what you were saying last week. I think this could be
Tanya, this is going to be one to watch.
Clash. 10 p.m. Sydney time, that one's kicking off. But if you're in the Perth area, I would 100% be running for a ticket because I think this could be a do not miss kind of fixture. Sydney FC go away to Adelaide this week. They're back on home turf. I think Michelle's going to be there. Happy days. I jet out just in time to miss the Jets at home against City. Love that.
Probably a good thing. Let's be real.
That's all right. That night I'll be at Old Trafford. So do I really care?
I mean, there's a chance to watch City.
What?
There'd be a chance to watch City if you're watching that game against the Jets.
You're right, 100%.
I feel bad.
There's
one of
three people to watch them.
Western United, they go away to Brisbane, which could be a chance, depending on how Brisbane respond to the shake-up, for Western United to kind of get their season back on track. Let's jump over to the WSL and go through a few things there. What is coming up? We have United City. I will be at that game. Happy days. Cheering on proud. If you're watching, look behind Stretford end. I'm front row, ready to rumble. West Ham take on Villa. Hopefully West Ham pull something together because if they drop points to Villa, their season's looking very scary. I know Bristol are kind of locking down that bottom rung, but they're not that far off. So hopefully Macca and the girls in, is it Claret? I think it is, can pull out some points. Courtney and hopefully Remy take on Tottenham this week. Brighton Arsenal could be an interesting game here with how Brighton have been performing. So that could be an interesting watch. Claire Wheeler and Everton run at Bristol, and then Chelsea and Liverpool kick off the weekend in the WSL. Good thing is our world just got a little smaller to cover because the NWSL is done. Most of the Scandinavian leagues are done. We're kind of down to like 5 leagues now. So our job just got a whole lot easier for the run ahead, guys. How are we feeling? Are we excited for the week ahead? Michelle, are you excited to be home is the biggest question, and be back with us here on the pod?
I am very excited to be home.
Michelle's like, no, actually, I'm not excited to be on the podcast. I'm actually done. This is my resignation episode. Goodbye.
I'm excited to be home. And then it's also like, but I'm only back for like a few days and then I go to Adelaide for a day. So I don't think, and I'm still like super jet like that. I almost fell asleep at like 2 p.m. today. I was like, stay awake. No, 5 p.m. Before we started recording, I was like, if I fall asleep now, I will not wake up. I need to stay awake. So I got up and walked around my house, drank some water, and just tried to stay awake. So ask me again next week if I'm happy to be home when I'm awake.
Easy. All right, we'll do that. Cody, what are you excited for this week, mate?
Am I allowed to say Perth and Melbourne victory again?
Yeah,
I don't think I can bang on about that enough. Look, I think domestically that's probably where my interest is the most this weekend. Obviously, the Manchester derby will be great. Seeing Fowler hopefully tear apart in that, but no, I think that's going to be a great weekend of football in our own backyard. Looking forward to seeing if Wanderers can scrape together a venue for Canberra, because if they do, that's where I will be. If they don't, you know what? Maybe I'll make the trip up to Gosford, because that does look like a tasty clash in itself. And this Wellington side, I do want to make sure I watch in person. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. Adelaide and Sydney as well. It'll be good to see Sydney back in domestic action. Unfortunately, I won't be travelling over to Adelaide. I don't have the frequent flyer points for that. But yeah, no, definitely a lot going on in Australia that I am very, very excited about.
That is where we are at this week, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Talking Tillies. If you want to, you can join us on Spotify. If you aren't listening there already, we are on TikTok, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. Find us at Talking Tillies. But yeah, we will be back next week. I will be overseas, so I will be joining you from outside of Old Trafford next week, actually, guys. So enjoy that. That's going to be a good background. But yeah, happy days. We got a whole heap of football. We are, I think, another 4 weeks away from our next international camp as well. I think the girls are playing in Canada at the start of December. So we are moving ever so closer to our next international break. We love international football. It's hard going 3 months without it. And we will be back next week with a brand new episode of the Talking Tillies podcast. See you next week. Bye.